Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your girl E, and I just wanted to come on here and give y'all a message and thank you for every person that subscribed, every person that listened, for anybody that shared, anybody that commented. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. And if anything resonates with you, please don't hesitate to continue to subscribe, continue to share, because we have to get this message out there. And when you do things like that, it definitely helps my channel and it helps me continue to keep going. So please, please, please continue to like, subscribe, and share and comment and tell everybody about Vision Rebirth. I really, really appreciate you and anybody that's listening right now. I love y'all. Let's take it back to 2025 and look at the best messages that resonated with people. All right, peace.
It's the feeling is very, very, I don't even know how can I describe it. It's calm. Um, it's a sense of, wow, that burden of that body is gone. The burden, it's something that
It's heavy. It sounds like it's like a heavy thing
yeah,
when you like almost leaving, like they say when in the gospel song, leaving my burdens behind.
yeah, you leave, all of the burdens are gone, and you feel this peace. It's a peace. And just seeing my body there, I knew this was it at that time as well. And that's when I was whisked, down this tunnel, you know, and and you get this feeling of moving through the tunnel, but I distinctively remember there's no wind hitting me in the face. There's no sense. The five senses that you have here are gone. Like that sense of wind rushing against you. Jumping out of planes, I could feel that. I know that sense of moving fast through the air. Um, and then all of a sudden I'm there. I'm standing in this place. um, I could say it's everywhere, it's nowhere. And one of the things I remember, I used to tell this all the time, is that my peripheral vision. You know how we can see our hands and our arms and our limbs through our peripheral. There was no hands, arms, or limbs in my peripheral vision. That was strange to me as well. Yet I had a sense of everything going on around me, even behind me, in front of me. Um, and you arrive at this point, this place. I call it the second heaven now. You arrive at this place, and
What did
you're
it look like?
darkness background. Everything's dark, yet there is light to see. I can't explain it. Imagine looking into the nighttime sky, yet there's no stars. There's no stars or anything, and yet it's illuminated where you're at. Where you're at is illuminated, and these beings are illuminated as well, and you get the sense that you're illuminated as well.
So I was looking like my soul was like outside the body and like a lifeless body, and I was like, oh shit, I'm dead. And kind of was like, whoa. And then I kind of was like, then that's when I was just in this unconditional love, this vibration. It wasn't, um, I, it was very, impersonal, but so personal. Like I had known and I had had encounters with angels and with like my past, like people who had passed before on, when I was like in my body on earth. But in that moment, it was just it was just this womb of like love and like just this divine consciousness, and everything was known. So it was like the veil dropped, like anything I wanted to know, like I had the answers to. And like below was like the drama of like the earth side, the drama trauma of the earth side, but I didn't like really care. Like I wasn't really watching what was going on with my like physical body or the drama of the earth. I was just like in this incubation of like white light and unconditional love. And any like then just these downloads of just knowing, like when you're like you just start to know all of, when the veil is lifted, and you're at that high perspective, everything is known.
So by the time I'm in ICU and I'm catapulted out of my body, there's this moment that's very playful and very earth realm where I'm almost like a child witnessing myself come out. I don't realize, though, it's myself. I'm looking down and I see all these doctors and they're wearing like yellow, and they had purple gloves on, and there's hazmat suits, and I'm like curious about why they're wearing these colors. And I mean, I was cognizant enough to be like, they're wearing Lakers colors and I'm not in Los Angeles.
Right.
Just like silly, playful stuff. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, who are they working on? And I'm like getting closer because, again, remember the swelling. I didn't recognize my body. So I get closer and it's like, oh, that's me. Okay. And there's this moment of like, I'm still in the earth realm. I'm still connected to this being. So there's almost like a possession or ownership or attachment. And I want to connect with the body and help the body and be with the body. Okay. And at this moment of this personalization that I'm taking ownership of, all of a sudden I'm just bolted out of that space. And I mean, it happened so fast. There's nothing to compare it to but the speed of light. I go from this earth realm, this really, ICU space, to boom, into a space that I can only describe as the cosmos. It looked and felt and expressed itself much the way that a really high resolution NASA image presents on the ground here. It was pockets of intense blackness, but everything had beautiful poetry, movements, and portals of light, colors unlike anything I've ever seen on this earth to date, just intensities, frequencies. Everything was in movement, and yet it was fluid. Everything spoke through vibration or sense. You were feeling, you were sensing, you were knowing, and all were co-occurring. There was no communication in a traditional sound way of being. And yet everything had this eminence, this vibration you could feel palpitating from it. So there was a sense of sound and movement and light, but nothing in traditional language like we use here on Earth.
And this place, like it was just darkness that
it was dark was the background. So it was almost like being this beautiful enveloping void, but the void is dancing with all of these orchestras of light that are coming through at different frequencies and different intensities.
So one moment, I'm standing next to the bench of this arm curl machine. In the next moment, blink of an eye, I found myself in a completely different dimension. And I knew this wasn't here because of the things that were happening in front of me. At this point, I'm going to have to ask you and your listeners to use the words I can to describe what I see as the best approximation of what human language can convey with what I experienced and saw while I was there. What I realized was I was now floating. I was floating, not on waves of water, but I was floating on waves of energy. And I was just rising and leveling. It was like I was on some sort of a little raft, if you will, that I was sitting looking at it. And
were you still you? Like, were you still like in a body? Like, were you like wearing your gym clothes and like?
No, and I will come to that, but that's a good point. I was seeing these energetic waves. I could actually see them coming towards me. I didn't quite realize where they were coming from, but they were coming towards me and they were passing through me. And it was like they were enfolding and enveloping me in this wonderful warmth, this wonderful sense of love and welcome. and acceptance. And it was something I had never felt. If I were going to give you a sense of feeling in that sort of a state, that I had felt here in this dimension. Well, as I was watching these waves come towards me, when I lifted what I understood to be my hands, they were translucent. I could see through them. It was like I was a hologram.
And the next thing I remember is just drifting off into, the peaceful void. And it was like, I don't even know how to explain it. Like swaddled in darkness is like how I like to put it. I was so at peace. I wasn't scared at all. Because at this point, like I didn't have a body. So I had lost the pain, I was going through chemotherapy treatments, heavy duty. So I was in so much pain, the amount of pain I was in. So this was like no more pain, perfectly peaceful. And then I remember waking up and I opened my eyes and my whole family is around my bed.
And when I'm in space, I still was aware that I existed. My consciousness was still aware that I was still existing. I had no form, no body. I was just part of everything, just witnessing. I was just part of everything.
And you knew that you were you still, right?
Yeah, I knew I was still me. My consciousness was still aware that I was still me, that I still existed.
And when you said you were part of everything, like, can you just explain that a little bit and sort of like the witnessing aspect of things?
Yeah, it's like you say, let's say like water,
Okay.
a bucket of water, and you get that one drop. As soon as you put that drop in the water in the bucket, it's part of the water. That drop do not, classify itself as being separate from the water, because now it's part of the water, and it's acknowledged as part of the water. And that's the way it was with my consciousness.
The other one jumped on my body, beating my head into the cement. And then what happened was I literally just sat up and left. It was like pushing off, It was that kind of very light, very airy. There was no resistance between here, there, or anywhere. It was just this transition up. It had no force in it. I went up, and it was this energy that was it didn't have color. I didn't have that. It wasn't about light or dark. For me, it was about texture and and literally experiencing different frequency levels, like going through different levels of energetic fields. Like I didn't know what it was. And then I would get to this place, and it was so loving. It was the purest, most outrageous love I had ever experienced. And didn't come from this ooey gooey, sticky family love. So it wasn't something that was my day-to-day experience, but this was like the most just incredible. And I came to understand in that moment that the source of all things felt very feminine and motherly in the best way possible. But then a voice came and spoke to me, and it was a male voice. And so in that moment, I realized that God or source or whatever you want to call that energy was energy, and that it contained everything that existed right there. And this voice said to me, go back in your body. And I still had my personality. I didn't have my body, but I had my personality. And I said, no, they're beating the blank out of me down there. I don't want to go back there.
And when you had your NDE, did it like sort of feel familiar to you and just feel like, oh, like this is like all of your other out of body experiences then made sense? Like,
well, yes, there were some differences. Well, as I was dying, I had been petrified all night. I was terrified. Okay. I was ice climbing. I could fall off the cliff in the dark, and it was in the middle of the winter, and it was terrifying. But as I was dying, I was like, oh, God's going to be there for me. And then when I died, the same angelic being that had taken me out of my body repeatedly came toward me. But I didn't understand what was going on. I was confused about, because it was different. When I was taken before, I was just like snatched. But this time I was halfway out of my body already. And I was like, what is going on? And it came rushing toward me. And I said, I'm not going anywhere. I don't understand what's going on. And it just like grabbed me and took me. I kind of against my will, not kind of against my will. And the biggest difference was that every single time I'd gone before, there was always a connection to my physical body. Like there was a way back. There was the Bible talks about the silver cord. There was a silver cord back to my body. But this time it was like this is totally not what happened, but it's the way I think about it. Like a huge pair of scissors came and snipped me off. I was like, my umbilical cord to my body was cut, and there was like no way back. That was very different. But I wasn't scared. I was content. I wasn't. There was no fear at all.
I don't know exactly what it was, but I was like, I knew if I didn't get out of this bed that I was dead, because no one's coming for me. No one, I don't even know if they know I'm there or what's going on, why nobody's coming to get me. I have no idea. But the bottom line is I knew I had to get out of that bed. So I pulled with everything I had, and I managed to tumble out of the bed, and I hit the floor face first. And I hit right here. And you know how when you hit yourself or you get hit, you're waiting. There's that second where you're waiting for the pain to kick in, and you know it's coming, and you know it's going to be bad, right?
Right.
Well, that's what I'm experiencing, but the pain never comes. And the pain never comes because I'm not in that body anymore.
So the second you hit the ground, you almost like knocked your spirit out your body.
Exactly. Yep. And that's when I'm above myself and I'm looking down at my lifeless body.
I came to realize in meeting God for the first time, I landed in what we would know as heaven, but I heard it as the white void. And it reminded me of The Matrix. The movie The Matrix came out a couple of years later. And I think it was 95 or something. And so that white room in The Matrix, that blinding white room.
Yeah, when Morpheus was teaching Neo. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, no. This was when who was it? I don't even remember. I'd be guessing. The guy was in like a brilliant white room, and it was all the TVs. And
when he was talking to the creator, like when he was talking to Source.
Yes, yeah. Was that creator he was talking to? Well, there you go.
Yeah,
okay, so
yeah.
That's what it was like. It was like this blinding white. It was like a wall-less room. It felt like it went on forever, but at the same time, it felt like we were in like a bubble, right? And it was blinding white. So I was looking down at what I was sitting on because it felt like a cloud. It looked like a cloud. It looked really soft and white and radiant, but it felt like pure love. The energy was coming up and through it, and it was solid enough to be a chair, right? So anyways, I remember looking down at it, and then I sensed something in front of me. I looked up and there was someone there. Kind of shocked me, and it was God. And so in that moment, all of a sudden, it was like they were giving me a bunch of downloads, and I realized we were talking telepathically, that they were giving me images as well as audio transmissions, like I could hear them, and saying them. Initially, it was just God, but then it was Jesus and the Council of Men.
And so you're out your body, and you're in the air, and then what?
So I'm midair, and I see everything, a bunch of, I seen a bunch of Bibles just flying, King James Version Bibles just flying all over the place, and a bunch of crosses. I got like the interpretation of that as my opinion of the King James Version Bible. That's what I was raised on. That's what I was taught to fear. If you don't follow every single thing in this book, you're going to burn. So I think like that was my own kind of self thoughts right there. But then
what do you mean? Like how? Like what was that interpretation? You mean like having it knocked? So that was getting knocked out of you too. Like those thoughts about God in the Bible was being knocked out of you too. Was that what that meant?
That was fear that I was gonna burn in that lake of fire because of my opinion about these books. So they just were like being tossed around, like kind of like, I don't know if it was like maybe taunted at me or something like that, but those Bibles, it just reminded me like, oh, I didn't agree with all the King James Bible. Like, is it true? Am I gonna burn? It was one of those things.
Okay, almost like your thoughts were just kind of like going crazy.
Oh yeah. But outside of my thoughts, what I'm looking at is a bunch of angels just everywhere, just all in circles, just like all around. But these particular two, it seemed like I knew all my life.
When I woke up, I was out of my body. And I didn't even know I was out of my body until I witnessed I was dead. And that's when I got sucked down. It was like a consciousness of me knowing I'm dead because I was having a heart attack. Literally. I was literally having a heart attack, but I was out of my body.
Did you feel the pain? Did you feel the pain of the heart attack?
I felt like knives was stabbing me. And I'm screaming, telling the girl, because I was with the girl, and I was telling her to help. But as I'm looking at her, I'm thinking that's me that's in the bed telling her, but I'm really watching it all from a third personal view.
Oh, so you're outside of your body, like yelling at her, like help me. But she's like, what is she doing? Is she like sleep or?
No, she's just watching TV. She don't know what's going on.
What is your body doing? Like, what is your body do? Your body is just laying there, sleep?
No. My body's grabbing the chest. Like I'm watching me have a heart attack.
And she wasn't paying and she wasn't like paying you any mind grabbing your chest? Like she just was like ignoring
No,
you?
she said I was asleep. So she said I was asleep. But I'm watching me die.
Yeah.
So, but when I come back to my body, eventually when we get to that point, she said I was asleep the whole time. Wow. But I'm like, no, I wasn't. I watched me. I had a 360 view like bugs, like bug eyes. Like you can see everything. It's like you can't hide from nothing. You look, you can see something this way, up here. On 360 dimension, you can see from everything. It's like you got all-knowing knowledge. So that's how it was. And I'm watching myself die. And I'm feeling it. And I knew it was a heart attack. That's how I knew. In the spirit realm, it's like you just know everything. It's nothing hidden. Right. So it's like I'm having a heart attack. I knew it, but I'm watching it.
Wow. So you knew and you felt you knew you was having a heart attack and you felt the pain of having a heart attack all at the same time of being outside of your body. Were you like almost like a ghost? Like you know how, Casper, where their body is almost like clear or something? Like were you like that?
No, I was like this. The spirit realm looks, and I get this question asked a lot. So the spirit realm, how they make it look movies with fog, it don't look like that. Yeah. The spirit realm looks, whatever room you in, it's an identical parallel world. It looks exactly how it is, just in the spirit realm. It's more real. So I was able to look at my hands. I'm guessing it was a spirit because it's a spirit realm, but it looked like this. And I had on the same identical outfit. Whatever I was wearing, but I was able to watch me like a veil and see that I'm dying, but still feel. It makes sense.
Now, in this conversation with Jesus, did you get clarity as far as what you saw in heaven, the beams,
one of the things that I realized was we don't celebrate the cross in heaven. But he didn't mention that, but that just, I realized it after I was done talking to him. He didn't have anything crazy to say. It wasn't like prophecy, the world's going to end in 20 years or something. But he did prepare me for some things that I was going to go through in my own life. He actually told me that I would tell my story to millions. And I told him he was crazy. I said, I'm not Billy Graham. Back then, YouTube was all music videos, right? There was no NDE channels or, people just didn't share those things. And he said, our story, he called it, is going to be heard by millions. And I was like, no, I'm not going to talk to millions of people. You got the wrong guy. And he just kind of, said, no, your story is going to be heard by millions.
Wow. But was that Jonathan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I don't know why his
Okay.
name was Jonathan. I don't even know why. I really just thought he was so real. And he was like, I was 28. Literally, I waited like years to meet this guy. I was like, he's gonna come get me. I'm gonna leave this earth. Like, but like,
Like, that's
you
gonna be
never
my man.
yeah. But it was basically like I think God works with us like how we understand it. And at the time I was a single woman, like it made a lot more sense for this like handsome guy to talk to me in my room than like some other stuff might make sense to other people. But that made sense to me. So yeah, he was very like just handsome and beautiful and just but the biggest part of that was that he was full of love. Just full of love for me, so simple. Like it felt very like I felt very vulnerable in like how seen I was, but also just how loved I was exactly as I was. And that's like that love that is just beyond anything we can really understand, but it's there for all of us. So that
And
was
what did he say to you? What did Jonathan say to you?
So this was how I knew my experience had ended because this was after around the 2-year mark. It was around 2 years. I was having this dream that I was talking to this very beautiful, glowing person. And we were in my room and I was saying things like, life is hard. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what I'm doing. And I was really just complaining, even though I'd have these 2 years of beautiful spiritual experiences. And he was like, life is amazing. You need to go out and have a great life. Go have adventures. Like, look how great life is. This is exciting that you're alive. And it was just so, and like, as he was saying these words, like all this love was just coming into my heart. And I just felt my heart like open so much and feel so much love.
But outside of my thoughts, what I'm looking at is a bunch of angels just everywhere, just all in circles, just like all around. But these particular two, it seemed like I knew all my life.
Describe that. Like, so it was angels. And what do you mean? Like, it seemed like you knew them all your life. Like, who were
It
they?
felt familiar. And that, like I said, at this point, I didn't know who I was. Like, I
Yeah.
can say now I really know, like, they were my guardian angels.
Right.
Then at that moment, I had no idea who they were. I just knew they were just one angel here, one angel there. I just recognized they looked so familiar. There was one on my left hand side, kind of like a beetle kind of face, like a beetle. Like he wasn't so much human, but then his wings were huge. And he was about like maybe 8 foot something. But then I looked to my right side, and this dude, he's like more man human than anything. Curly hair, blue jeans, red flannel shirt, sleeves rolls up to the elbows.
This light and this heat formed behind me. Like I'm sitting here and it was behind me. And I'm looking like this and like this. And I turn around and it's Jesus.
How did you know it was Jesus?
Because he looked like himself.
Like, so it was the blonde hair, blue eyes? Like, that
No,
was...
he had brown hair, brown eyes. He didn't have blue eyes, he had brown eyes.
Okay, wow.
Okay. And he was putting his arms out to me and he was in white robe. He was really short too. I wanted to, like, I'm 5'10", and
Yeah.
he is really short, but he floats. So he was moving towards me, and I turned around and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm losing my mind. I'm absolutely going crazy. I don't know what the heck is happening here." And I backed up and I backed up and I opened the door and I ran out the building and I ran down the boulevard and I ran all the way to get home. And the next day I went to my friend Paul's house, and Paul is a born again Christian, and he was very into his beliefs, and so I went to him and I said, "I need your help." And I didn't want to tell him what happened, but I told him some of the things that happened. I didn't tell him about Jesus. And I said, "I need a Bible. I need a different Bible, and I need you to take me to your church because people there really believe, right?"
Yeah.
I always had a sense of awe about God, and it didn't have specifics. It just had sensation and energy. Again, I've always been oriented with energetic fields. Like I could feel things, I can see, I hear things, I smell things. So we went to this born again Christian church, and this woman started talking in tongues. And I'm a Jew. I don't know
Yeah.
about tongues. And then this woman next to her said, I'll identify, I'll identify, I'll identify, or I'll interpret. And she kept going, but and then she described to a T exactly what happened with me in that room. as Jesus came toward me.
The first one happened when I was 5. And I didn't plan it. I didn't make it happen. It just did. And I came back understanding that I had a job in this life. And my job was to work. At the time, I understood it as God. I worked for God. That was my job, was to belong to God and work for God for the whole of my life. And I ran into the house and I told my mom. I jumped out of the maple tree and I ran into the house and told my mom. And I kind of skidded in on my socks and made a lot of ruckus and, said, Mom, God just talked to me. An angel came to me and it took me out of my body, and I'm gonna work for God for the whole. I'm gonna be a priest, is what I said. I'm gonna be a priest. And my mom's like ironing, and we hear the baby upstairs starting to cry, and she's like, "Shh! I told you not to come in the house." And so I got in trouble, not for what happened, but for coming in the house. And so I kept it to myself. And then I had another one when I was 6. Ganesh came to me. And, it's this Catholic.
Ganesh. Who's Ganesh?
Ganesh, the Hindu god that looks like an elephant.
Okay. Wow.
I was this, I lived in Boston. Like, there's no Ganesh in Boston when I was a kid growing up. I didn't have any idea what that was.
The Galactic Federation of Light. And it is a collection of beings, almost you could say like an African Union or a European Union, where they all just come together for one purpose. And there's also a negative force, which there's so many different names for, but the galaxy is about 95% positive at this time. Earth is like the last part of this galactic war, because so many beings want control over Earth, or they have family on Earth, and they're like, look, we gotta help these people out, and we gotta make sure they don't destroy themselves. So I started working with the GFL in 2021, 2022. I first kept thinking I was just working with angels, I would call them. I'm like, oh, I'm working with these angels. They're guiding me on missions. And at first I didn't really like, it started with me like going to parties. Like I was finishing up high school. So I'm going to parties and spirits would be like, some kid needs help, go to the train tracks. And I'd be like, okay. And then like I would go, and then there would be a kid that needs help right there. Or they'd be like, oh, this guy sees spirits. Go over there and talk to him about spirits. I'd be like, okay, we're gonna see. I go over there and I'm like, you see spirits, don't you? And he's like, yo, how do you know that? How do you know? And I'm like, whoa, like that's when I started to clock that T. Like this is real thing. I was always very skeptical because I didn't want to hop into stuff that wasn't real. So I had to make sure. I had to make sure this is like for real. And it was always spot on. So that's when I stopped and I was like, okay, y'all have me on these real assignments, these real missions. I ain't gonna do nothing else until y'all show me who you is and what we're doing, because I don't know what's going on fully. And then that's when I had an experience of them pulling me up on a ship and them telling me, you're one of us in a human body and stuff like that, and explaining what Earth is. It was weird because it blows your mind, but it's also like, yeah, I've been knowing this at the same time. It's like a weird, ominous feeling, a deja vu. I was just like, okay, let's do what we gotta do. And from then, once I realized that these angels, I would call them, were just extraterrestrials, and these demons were just extraterrestrials as well, I was like, wow, this whole Earth and everything that was said in religion and biblical times was real, just not exactly like how they say. All of this was just humans' experience with extraterrestrials and the spirit realm. And that made me lock in with that 100%. So now I've committed to helping all Starseeds in their mission.
What led initially to it was I was seeing a lot of numbers. I was seeing angel numbers, and I didn't know what any of it meant. All of a sudden, I started seeing 9/11, 9/11, 9/11, and waking up 9/11. Seeing it in during the day, seeing 11/9, whatever it was. I would always see ones and nines. And I never understood the significance of an angel number. And I just started kind of Googling it. And it was like, pay attention, changes, things like that. And then all of a sudden, one day in the middle of the night, I actually heard voices talking to me. It was two voices going back and forth in my mind. And it was legit conversation. And it was so much of it. I wish I would have wrote it down, but to be honest with you, it was so profound that it knocked me off of my socks. I didn't know what to do with the information. Wow. But the information that came through, you knew that it was valid because it just made so much sense. And when the information came through, I was in tears because it was like, wait a minute. You kind of look around the room and you realize the world around you is not the same. Mm-hmm. That's the best way to explain a spiritual awakening. It's like all of a sudden everything around you was like a lie. And the voices that were talking to me were explaining things about my relationship with the person that I was with at the time and life. And it was just so profound. And I couldn't tell you where the information came from.
Okay, so after I was speaking with God, Jesus came up and I had a little bit of a conversation with Jesus. And then Jesus disappeared and God was turning away and walking away from me. And I thought, oh no, it's judgment time. You know, here we go. You're gonna judge me. You know, it was pretty tough. So, anyways, all of a sudden I'm transported and I'm sitting in a chair and there's a semicircle of men around me. And Creator is right in front, and to his left is a spirit and a man, and there was a bunch of men. So there were 13 in total. Creator was number 13. There were 6 on both sides. And the one right beside him was what I would call the elder. And so he spoke for the entire council. And they just gave me a series of lessons. I asked, am I dead? Because I had had a heart attack in my second one. And I've had heart attacks all my life. I have a stent in my heart now. And yeah, so I started young, right? And anyways, I said, am I dead? And the elder, he what did he say? He said something to the effect that you're neither dead nor alive. You're in a zone right now. You're in the white void. And so it's your choice. You can return and continue on, or you can stay with us and terminate your life.
It's like shadow. And because I thought it was my mom, because I said, Mom, thanks for laying in bed with me.
Yeah.
And she said, I didn't lay in bed with you. Because when I said time lapse, basically this shadow entity came over, sat with me, and we was chopping it up, girl. When I tell you we was I'm not even playing, we was chopping it up. That's why it was such a familiar spirit that I thought it was my mother.
What were y'all saying to each other?
Okay, so it was no words. It was just all feels and like it came over, sat with me on my bed. Let me know everything's cool. You are good. Let's get you feeling better.
Yeah.
Laid with me like I felt like I was tumbling in the bed like with the entity, like I was like playing playing like wrestling in the bed, like
yeah
like we was chopping it up like
and
like
this
with
is like
my
your
little
is this like your spirit doing this or like your physical body? Because I asked this because you had just had a cesarean, right?
I had just had a cesarean, so this must have been my spirit.
Yeah,
because I literally I thought because you have to define what you think is real, right? Is it your physical body or is it your spirit? Because even though I was back in my physical body and my mom was praying over me, once I took that breath and I saw that entity, I thought it was my mom, come over to me and sit with me. It felt like it was all day, 2 days of us just chopping it up, like laying in the bed, hugging each other, wrestling around, like all this stuff. And then I felt it lay on me and I just started feeling like so much better.
The being that I experienced was a tall, 6.5 foot tall, blue-white being that brought in to the house at 5:30 in the morning, brought in this wall of blue-white light. Just it filled the whole room. It wasn't like somebody's shining car lights in. The whole room was filled with this light, and it paralyzed the right side of my body. And I was thinking that this was the family spirit guide that I heard about since the age of 3, called Oglegli, that several people had seen, okay, at different times, like in the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, and whatnot. So, anyway, so my whole right side of my body became paralyzed when this being came through the front door and within a second and a half, it floated over to me, and it bent down to me, and it said into my ear, not my head, said in my ear, "Hi, Steve."
So it knew his name.
It knew my name, and it was, excuse me, it was neither feminine or masculine, but I was thinking, I'm going to get to see the family spirit guide that I'd heard about since the age of 3. But the other half of me, the logical side, was saying, dude, you can't move. Okay. My right eye was already open, but I could not close my right eye, even if I tried. And I was trying to see his face.
So he's like both excited and scared at the same time,
and that went on for about maybe 5, maybe 10 seconds, and then it left. It went right back out, took the light with it, and then I blacked out.
I was an atheist at the time. I didn't want to believe in a God because I thought, if I believe in God or Jesus, they'll judge me for what I've done and I'm going to hell. And so when I died, guess what? I was going to the dark place.
That's where you went.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even go there. It came to me. I was dead and hovering over my body, and these gremlin things started coming out of the floor. They were little black creatures, and I had seen them for a long time before my death. I had heard them. I heard the growling. I could hear the hissing noise from them for about 6 months, maybe even a year before my death. And I knew I was struggling.
Hold on, you heard that just randomly? You heard those randomly, like in your day-to-day life?
Yeah, in day-to-day life. Wow. Every time I come home, they'd be there and they'd growl and hiss at me. So let me go back. I'm Métis. I'm Aboriginal by birth, and so my mom, she was in a residential school. She was Native, and she's Ojibwe and Cree, so that makes me Ojibwe and Cree as well. And so at the age of 3, I was fully psychic. I could see things. I was clairvoyant, clairsentient, clairaudient. I could hear, smell, feel everything. So when I came into the deaths, 2 of them, it just amplified the gifts that we all have, I believe, but I was very much aware of right from 3 years old. So I would see ghosts and spirits all my life. I saw a lot of things during my lifetime. And so it didn't surprise me. I knew I was struggling. I knew I was at the end of my rope, and it wasn't a good rope. So when I did die, these things, they came up out of the floorboards. They were coming through the walls. And then the big guy came, and he came initially as a snake. He appeared as a snake in front of me, and then he morphed into a human, a man, and a really handsome man. And I kind of tried to shake the fear by going, wow, that's where they get the term devilishly handsome from, because he was so handsome. He had the square jaw and but his eyes were reptilian, and they would undulate, and he was trying to hypnotize me. And long story short, you got to read the book because it tells all the details. But in that moment, I realized, okay, if I'm standing with this demon thing, then there has to be a contrast. There has to be a God. There has to be a Jesus. There has to be goodness. And so at that moment, I thought, F it. I have nothing to lose. I was an atheist. I'm going to call in God and Jesus to be by my side. And I'm getting truth bumps, goosebumps as I'm telling this. But they came, and immediately as they stood beside me, that thing's eyes like bugged out, and he flew. He ran as fast as he could, because his energy cannot sustain in the light of God, light of Jesus, the power of that pure energy.
One giant, massive demon, or I don't know, but I heard 1,000 voices speaking out of that one demon. Right. And it was mine and mine, but it was so much going on that it's like my head wanted to explode. It was like I was dying, falling, because it was so much terror. It was so much terror going on. Mind you, I'm still seeing different realms. I'm still seeing the earth. I'm still even seeing the girl inside of the hotel room. And I'm just like, I'm still even fat. I'm like, this stuff is real. I went to church, but like, this really real. And then if this is real, I'm never getting out of this place. Like, this is where I'm gonna be at. And I'm just like, no, I never thought I'd be here. Like, dang.
And it wasn't sort of like, you know, how we've been brought up to, you know, it's the lake of fire and hell is this like hot place,
I was
and Satan has like a you know, a cane and horns. Like that wasn't it. It was just like
none. Where I was at was out of darkness. It was so black you can even feel the blackness. It was scary black.
right,
But I was falling somewhere and I was getting closer. Maybe I was gonna go to the lake of fire, but like I said, I got to screaming, God, God, as I'm peeling my face off, but I don't even feel that because I'm so scared. I was even
right,
scared of God because it's like, yo, I messed up. You know what I'm saying? Like this is it. And I'm screaming, God, nothing is happening. And the demon laughing at me, cussing me out, and all type of conversations be going back. Why are you doing this to me? He laughing. Like every thought he answering me back. And it's all thought translations. And
right.
I just eventually just said Jesus. And when I said Jesus, I popped back in my body real fast.
The hell that I went through was entirely my creation. It was all of the selfish behavior that I had in my life, my jealousy, my anger, jealousy and anger. I guess those are the big ones. All of the times that I wanted to hurt people on purpose, that karma accrued to me. And yeah, I hurt them, but it was their pain. It was like my weight.
Their pain became your pain.
Yeah, and it was much bigger than what I gave them. It's like in A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, and his partner shows up. Jacob Marley shows up. These are the chains I forged in life.
Yeah.
I forged chains, and they were chaining me to myself. And as I went through this experience of suffering all this pain, I became ashamed. And so guilt is you do something wrong, you feel bad about it. Shame is where you become a bad person. I'm a bad person. And so there's a difference between those two things. And I became a bad person as I was going through. It's like, oh, look at all these terrible things I did. And it wasn't like, look at these things. I was feeling them. But meanwhile, all of this love was like this overwash of so powerful, I couldn't not turn to it. And so I think that hell this is not knowledge. This is an educated guess. I think that hell is the attachments to our own selfishness. And that we can be freed of those chains. And the people that feel like they don't deserve God, well, nobody does. Nobody does. Nobody deserves it, but we're beloved anyway. We're all, during my hellish experience, I not only went through my pain that I gave to everybody, I saw like a vision, I saw all of humanity, every single person, all at once, and we were all equal. There was like if it was a thin piece of paper, we're all on the thin line of the piece of paper, and it's like, you know, genocidal people and murderous people and rapists and all the super bad people and do bad things and all the good people. We're all together in comparison to the purity and the ultimate love of the divine being. It is so much greater than us. It's like being a micron compared to the size of the galaxy. Galaxy is the size of unconditional love. Micron is all of us. And did I deserve love? No, but I was made out of love. Every person is made out of love at the core of their being. And all you have to do is accept it. That's all I had to do. Accept it. And once I accepted it, it was done. And I was inflated by love itself. And so this is also just an educated guess. I think that the divine is so compassionate that it gives near-death experiencers the experience that they need to continue to live with. And so, and I also think that maybe the people who go through hell weren't quite there long enough to get out. And that maybe, because it's not eternal, that's for sure.
You said they weren't there long enough to get out?
They weren't dead long enough to
they weren't dead long enough to get out.
Right, to get out of hell.
Okay.
You know, they came back a little, quickly, maybe. But I bet their lives are different. I bet they live differently than they lived before. I bet they live with more holiness.
Yeah.
So that's a huge plus side.
Yeah.
Well, how can people not go to hell, because we're told that if you're gay you go to hell. We're told that if you do all these bad things you're going to hell. If so like how can people just get out? Like, I don't want to go to hell. So how can people get out of that energy?
So I believe that's all human construct in order to control. So, just say, you had an abortion, you're going to hell. You're gay, you're going to hell. That's all human construct. And because in the God that I met and the Jesus I met, they were so unconditionally loving. And the biggest push was for me to love myself and let go of my own judgment of myself. So that's the biggest way to make sure you don't experience what I did. Just love thyself, love thyself, love thyself.
On the other side, there's no right or wrong. There's only perception. The Bible, sorry to say, for most people, they're not going to like this, but a lot of the Bible is not correct because it was manipulated by the church and by the government at the time. On the other side, there is no hierarchy. Yeah, go ahead.
Is that why it's right and wrong here, but it's not on the other side? Because like, why on the other side it's no right or wrong, but here it's so like, if you do right, you do wrong, you go to hell, you go to heaven. Like, it's so ingrained in us here.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like I said, I found out that only some of the Bible is true, not all. And Jesus was also misunderstood. First thing, there is no hierarchy on the other side. That means Jesus is not closer to God than you. Virgin Mary is not closer to God than you. Gabriel, the angel, is not closer to God than you. Mother Teresa is not closer to God than you are. You're treated the exact same. God loves everyone exactly the same.
One more principle that was really hard for me is understanding that there's purpose in evil.
Yeah.
That for us to have a good choice, there has to be a bad choice. And to take away the option of having bad choices, you might as well remove all choices. So there is purpose in evil. Not that any of us should choose it ever, but we need to have the ability to choose while we're here. That's how we grow. That's how we grow this soul.
I want to say that the true definition of sin, okay? I think if we can get down to the lingo and definitions of things, of like darkness or evil versus sin, right? Those could all be in the same category. The true definition of sin is the removal or manipulation of free will and choice. Okay? So, anytime somebody is a true victim, that means that their free will and choice was removed, like a rape victim truly is a victim there. Okay. That is darkness. That's evil. Okay. But somebody who is maybe two consulting adults doing something that a Christian thinks is evil or against whatever their religious views are is not, because they are using their free will and choice. And so for the whole world to get unified or to heal would be a desire of manipulation of free will and choice. Think about that. That would be like saying that what I believe and what I believe is right and good, like healing and getting in our highest timeline, that I'm right. And that you shouldn't have free will and choice because I know better than you. Not even God himself does that.
The one part of the story that I always share about is the fact that I saw the moment that I picked this box of childhood sexual trauma. And as I grabbed the cereal box, a little orb of light came out with the box, and it was the soul of the man who molested me when I was a child. And we came orb to orb with each other, and we came into contract that we loved each other so much that we were going to play these roles for each other. And my human mind does not have a great way of explaining that. Like, why would a soul pick this experience? Like, that sounds terrible. But in that space, I knew that it was for evolvement, it was for healing, it was for something collectively. Like, I'm not just healing my sexual trauma for myself, I'm healing for every little boy and little girl who doesn't get an opportunity to heal from theirs. And it felt like this great sense of purpose was coming with this life experience.
One of the things that I do is called retraining the brain. And it's about taking negative self-talk and thoughts and turning them into positive terms. In other words, for example, let's say you've been sick for a very long time and you're thinking, I don't want to be sick anymore. I don't want to be sick anymore. I don't want to be sick anymore. What you're projecting is a visualization or a vibration of I, sense of self, and the word sick. Those are the two things that you're sending out into the universe. So you didn't send out health, you sent out sick. So what are you going to get more of? Sick.
Sickness.
But if you change that to I want to be healthy, now the vibrations you're sending out are I, sense of self, and the word health. Whatever you project, you see that to be, you are now projecting. So what we put out, we get back. We know this. So you have to put out what you want to get back. So if you want to be healthy, you can't say, I don't want to be sick anymore. You have to say, I want to be healthy. And that your thoughts drive what comes back to you.
People come to me with all kinds of physical things that are going on, and oftentimes it's because it's energetic. If you've got something physical going on that you're not getting resolved with Tylenol, or you had a surgery, or you've had conventional medical things going on, but you're still having problems, you should go see it like someone who can help you. And like I have a lot of training, and I can help a lot of different conditions and a lot of different things. So that's one thing. If you have something physical going on, it's always helpful to go to a healer if you have something physical going on. But I do not say go do this instead of medicine. No, okay. I say do this. Like we work with your healthcare providers. I work with God is in the medicine too. God is in the Tylenol,
It's in everything.
But that's sometimes it's in everything. And sometimes you just need the right thing. Like I was having some problem with my car. It needed air in the tires. It was, that was it,
So I do Reiki. I love Reiki. It's my favorite healing modality to do. I absolutely love it. When I'm in my Reiki energy, I can see the person's main spirit guide.
Well, break down what Reiki is for the people. Break down what Reiki is. Sure. Yeah.
So I like to explain it like this. So you go, everybody knows what acupuncture is. They have the needles, right? Where they have the different energy points for different things that's going on in your body. Reiki is the same thing. It's a Japanese technique, but we use the energy of our hand, and we use source. So you know how when somebody say they put hands on you in church and they feel, it's the same thing. The energy is different. You got to get attuned to Reiki from a Reiki master.
What exactly is ayahuasca?
That's
for
a
people
great
that
question.
Don't know.
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked that, because right now I think it's popular and it's a buzzword because so many celebrities and athletes have drunk the medicine and had powerful experiences, and it's all over social media and YouTube. But I think that people need to have a better understanding of what it is and what it isn't, and that it's not the only medicine of its type. So psychedelic and hallucinogenic medicines that actually have a positive impact on the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual state of an individual are known as entheogens. Psilocybin mushroom is an entheogen. THC from marijuana could be considered an entheogen. So entheogens include anything that might have an impact on the mental space, taking us out of the limitations of our natural thoughts. Hallucinogenics, psychedelic medicines like psilocybin mushroom, THC in marijuana, the DMT that is found in ayahuasca, but also the DMT that's found in the secretion of animals like the toad. Bufo is an entheogen. And so a lot of people have Bufo journeys. One that I think is very powerful you will be hearing about it in the very near future, that I think more people, Black people specifically, should know about is Iboga. Iboga is an African bush root that's used by communities in West Africa, like Gabon and the Congo, Cameroon, and parts of southern Nigeria. And it's powerful. So right now, everyone's talking about ayahuasca, but mark my words, Black people in a year to 2 years will be talking about iboga because of its lineage connection to our DNA. And I find that journey to be really powerful, not to be compared to ayahuasca or bufo or any of the others. They each have very unique experiences for humans. So, as we talk about ayahuasca itself, it's actually a vine that wraps around a tree in the Amazon basin. So, the Amazon River runs through South America from the east coast to the west coast, running through countries like Brazil, Colombia, Peru, Ecuador. And the sediment and the water of the Amazon basin makes the plants there very rich and very unique. So the ayahuasca vine is cut and pounded and placed over wood and heated. And then the brew that comes from that is mixed with other plants and flowers from the Amazon basin, which causes the DMT within ayahuasca to release. So that whole blend together is the ayahuasca tea. So it's not like somebody can just take the chopped ayahuasca vine and start to eat it or turn it into a tea and drink it. It really won't do anything. You have to have the thing that releases it in the system mixed with it. And so this tea, this brew, is prayed over and into by the indigenous communities that live along the Amazon basin. And those prayers are called Icaros. And so they're speaking in their tribal languages, they're speaking sometimes in Spanish. And when the person drinks the brew, they're drinking the love and the prayers and the magic that's put into it by the community that boiled that brew.
Interesting.
It does give you hallucinations, but it also gives you a mental release to see all that's possible. Some people see shapes and sacred geometry. Some people, like I, are very connected to nature. You can begin speaking to animals and bugs and trees. And some people who take psilocybin mushroom, they have that same experience, being very connected to nature. Ayahuasca in particular gives you like a lineage connection. So many people end up hearing from ancestors and relatives, some that they knew and some that they've never met and they don't know. And that's why many times ayahuasca is referred to as grandmother, because it tends to follow the matrilineal history and ancestry of your family. So usually it's a woman that's speaking to you, like a grandmother, great grandmother, great great grandmother, that's giving you this really loving information. Sometimes, like a grandmother can do, it needs to be a little more forceful because sometimes we're not listening. We're not picking up on what's being dropped into us. And so we have to be given some stronger love, like a grandmother would give. And that's when people start feeling like they're dragging on the ground or they can't get up. And when we hear about people regurgitating and having bowel movements, that means that there's toxins, either physically, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually, that's trapped within our cells, within our body, that must be released. So it has to come out. So ayahuasca is a purgative. Not all of the entheogens are purgatives.
You're only supposed to grieve for 11 months and then go back to normal. But from the divine standpoint, grieving is very hard on the body. And if you grieve too long, more than a year, you're going to hurt your heart and other body parts. So how do you get rid of grief? Number one, when I teach you Einstein, you're going to give it away. Number two, there's a verbal frequency you can actually use to eliminate grief. And when you add it to something called Star of Bethlehem, which is a Bach flower remedy, you'll get rid of most of your grief within the first month and 90% of it more in 3 months. Now, when you start to go through this and you want to talk to the person from the other side, it's my job to make sure that we can ask questions of the other person. How are they doing? Do they have any messages? For instance, a person I was praying for needed to release and go home. Well, 3 days after their death, they appeared with their angel with me in my room. I said, Mom, I can smell the angels. There's someone here. And this is a different angel. I haven't smelled this one before. I know they're angels by their fragrance. And the angel said to me, I have someone in my charge, someone I'm taking home, who wanted to say thank you. And I said, are you Liliana's aunt that I've been praying for? And Liliana was from Chicago. And she said, yes. She said, I wanted to say thank you because you helped me let go of my body and leave. And the pain is gone. I'm out of pain. I have no more suffering and I'm on my way home. But please continue to pray for my husband who was drinking too much because I was concerned about him. So I continued to pray for him. And for the next 3 weeks until an angel appeared and said, you can stop praying for him. He's given up all alcohol.
What I ended up learning through my own wounding and through my own training as a clinician, and then also as a survivor of pretty prolific violence, was that so many of the women that are here to be teachers, to be anchors of the divine feminine and its return to the earth, have not been able to do it because we have been unable to purge and to clear and to truly unconditionally love the self. So for me, as someone who was taught the divine father and the patriarchy and all of those things, it's been the reclamation of the divine mother, the unconditional love, that which sees light and darkness and holds both. That's been really where my work has been. And in raising 2 boys who are balanced between the masculine and feminine.
How about that?
Because that divine feminine is anchored through each part of every single person, whether you're biologically, whatever, however you identify. We each have those critical components. But what I saw time and time again in my personal work with the women that come to me, and then my work in psychology and my personal work in healing, is that we have this very deep feminine rage in the earth, in the culture, in the self, in the masculine, everywhere. And until it's given a voice, until it's allowed to purge, and until that rage is met with unconditional love, it cannot be healed. So I'm really here to hold space for that and to let people know, as someone who, is a complex trauma survivor for 3 out of the 4 decades of my life, it's okay to roar as you're healing. Look at the earth right now. She's roaring.
Yeah, it's definitely roaring right now.
And that's part of what it is. Healing is messy. Like, if you're going to organically heal, you have to be willing to be like a butterfly. You have to go in a cocoon and fall apart. That is the holiest part of healing.
Leading up to when I first got back, my senses were heightened. I could literally see molecules in the air when I first got back, and my intuition was heightened, and I had all these gifts, of knowing somebody's coming to my house or something like that. Things
so they
like
gave
that.
you gifts when you came back.
Yeah. I honestly believe you can't get that close to God and not have these gifts awakened in you without even asking for them. And so these gifts were there, yet I had to understand them. I had to learn how to use them. And so I wanted to get back to that place. That's how much love I felt there. I wanted to get back. I wanted to feel that feeling. So I experimented with many things, and I found that meditation was the way, and so this
regular
transcendental meditation. Yes.
So what's transcendental meditation versus other meditations?
Well, I would say they're pretty much the same. Transcendental just means that you go a little deeper, you stay a little longer. You put the body to sleep and the mind is awakened. It's still awake, but you relax the mind. You relax the mind and the body, until the body's asleep and the mind is still awake, and then at this point, most people think that meditation is just, I'm just going to relax the mind and that's it. No, but there's a deeper thing to it, and once you get in that state, I would say that's when you begin to listen, because all of the truths that you're searching for are there, and you begin to listen. And then I learned how to I was always in contact with Metatron. When I first got back, I didn't know it was Metatron. I would just listen, and I would ask questions while I was in this state, and it would give me all truth. It would tell me everything I wanted to know. Any concern that I had, I would ask it about it, and it would tell me yes or no.
What are you guys' like spiritual gifts that you have?
So both of us are actually, we're clairsentient. So we have strong what's the word I'm looking for? We have strong empathic abilities. So we can walk in a room, we can feel everything. We have the ability to pick up on your emotions and then the other person's emotions just through conversation. We're also claircognizant. So our ability to know things is strangely strong. And it's weird because that picked up after we started trusting the universe.
Yes.
So once that veil started thinning and we started really believing in the other side, then all of a sudden the things that we said when we would talk to people, it would be so on point. And then people are just like, how do you know that? And we're like, honestly, I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah. So definitely that, we are improving in our ability to speak to past loved ones. So our communication is starting to enhance in that. So we have quite a few abilities, even some clairvoyance, because we can see images. So we could do quite a few things. But altogether, it allows us to be able to work with our clients through our quantum healing and our intuitive life coaching that we do. I do Reiki. It just enhances our abilities in such a way so that way we can really provide a great service.
Definitely. And one of the things that we do is quantum restorative hypnotherapy technique. And we got the technique from Dolores Cannon. She used to do quantum healing hypnotherapy technique. Unfortunately, she passed away. But we got the foundation we call it QRHT from her. And we did a little tailspin on that. And what we do is put people under hypnosis, and we do past life regression with them. And after we do the past life regression, we do up to like 6 lives while they're under, sometimes more. But towards the end, we get the other side to come through. We get your spiritual team to come through, your angels. And we have them come and give a loving report card.
Like, how can someone, I don't want to say have your powers, but but how can someone get that spiritual gift or tap into that spiritual gift that you seem to have?
It's it's innate in all of us, but a lot of it is the removing of all the blockage, like particularly the pineal gland, removing all of that. But prior to the detoxification of the body, which I do feel is really, really, really important, you can simply ask. I make me an open vessel. I want to connect with my guides. Allow me to connect with my guides, because the reality is, whether you see it or sense it or feel it the way that I do because of my gifts, you have the capacity through the pineal gland, through your heart, which has 3 levels to its chakras, and through the upper chakra system to access this all. You don't have to see it, or feel it the way that I do, but you have that access. Part of the limitation for most people is the belief that they don't have it.
Here, there's like a checklist of lessons we agreed to learn in the lifetime. Then once we agree to that, we're shown different experiences, and it's kind of like, if you go this way, you're going to get this, this, and this. And if you go that way, you're going to get this, this, and this. Depends what outcome do you want out of this lifetime? What are you willing to do in this lifetime to get to a higher frequency of soul existence.
So the thing before we just dive in deep into quantum jumping, you have to understand that if you don't understand frequency and you don't understand thought form and you don't understand your ego and your anything, and you think you know and you think you understand quantum jumping and positive reinforcement and manifestation and attracting, and I want to jump here, I want to jump there, I want to get this, I want to get that, I want to get this job, I want to get these shoes, I want to get this band, I want to get that money. You're going to get it. You're going to get it. But you're going to get what you get, but you're not going to get the lessons that come with it. So you're still going to be arrogant and spiritually naive because you're going to think you got it, and you're going to think you're spiritual and mindful and mindset, and you're going to think you're a healer and therapist and manifester, and you're going to think you are this powerful person, but you're missing that you got there without the lessons that you needed to take to get that. So you just got it. God's going to give you whatever you ask for. If you want drugs, all right. You want to learn your lessons? Here you go. If you want to get money, here you go. But what about your inner process and your healing and your karmas and your all these things going on within you? Because I'll give you an example. Let's say you think you healed resentment, anger, rage, and you're like, okay, I'm ready for money now. I want to quantum jump and I want to get this job and I'm going to get this cash flow coming in, or I'm going to just get 20,000 all at once, fast. And you did not purely understand your relationship ego with others. So you're going to get this money and then you end up in a relationship and your ego troubles and your scarcity mindset is still there. And your troubles are still there.
What do y'all say to, men are just supposed to just be with other women and that's how they're supposed to live their life? Like, what do you say to that?
There's different shades to that, and it's very cryptic, and I'm gonna tell you why. So most of us come down here with soul contracts. So Dolores Cannon, we learned through her that you have villains in your life. So in heaven, we are all friends. Yeah. So even this transaction between you and us and you, this was something that was already preordained. This is what we believe. This is already preordained when you were in heaven. Let's call it heaven, because there's different dimensions upstairs. So what happens is, if a woman's lesson is to choose herself, God is not going to hand choosing yourself on a platter and say, okay, now you have learned how to choose yourself. Right. No, God is going to send you multiple people. If you're in a heterosexual relationship or heterosexual, he will send you multiple men so that you can learn that lesson. So now you got to keep in mind, these men that come your way, they were your friends upstairs. Yeah, and so now you are meeting these people, and if you didn't learn the lesson the first, second, third, fourth, fifth time, guess what? You're being tested. This is all a game. This is all a school. So people must look at it from that angle and understand that when you meet this guy, he's going to present himself as a wolf in sheep's clothing. He's not going to say to you, hey, I'm the same bastard you dated 3 times ago. He's not going to say that. But it's up to you to use discernment. It's up to you to look at your previous past relationships and say to yourself, you know what? The last 3 relationships I was in, I had sex with the guy the first month. Maybe I should wait and figure out who this guy is. Yeah. Not to go too far from the question, what I need you to understand is that, I need your audience to understand is that these men that come in your life are part of the game. It's part of the test. And they were given that assignment. Because God can't come down and date you and say to you, Erica, I need you to learn how to choose yourself. He got to utilize other people to do that for you. And that goes across the board with anything. That's like being at work with a coworker. If you're supposed to learn how to have patience, your coworker is going to do things, or even your children. Like I have 3 kids, 4 adult children. 3 daughters and a son. I had to learn patience with my children. So it's all about whatever the lesson is. The villains are here. Now, mind you, the villains were your friends upstairs, but now they're in this character to be your villain, so you can learn the lesson. And before you speak, Janine, I just want to give the analogy. I gave the analogy to someone. It's like going to a job fair, and there's different booths. So a woman goes to every booth. Like, so if a man is at every booth, if there's 10 booths, the woman should not make it down to the 10th booth. I'm sorry. She should learn by the 4th booth of men that I'm dating the same guy. Now, she gets to date the booth 10, which a lot of them do. The universe is saying, darling, you dated the same guy 10 times. Why are you complaining? So now the men, let's talk about the men real quick before you talk, Jay. The men who are given these assignments, the universe protects them in a cryptic way, because don't get it twisted. They're killing like 30 birds with one stone. So this one guy that may dog one girl out, trust and believe he was given the assignment to maybe dog out 10 girls.
Okay.
So he goes from woman to woman to woman. And what happens is all these women he goes to, they were supposed to learn a lesson, and they keep failing at the test. And it's flip-flop. So like these men keep saying, oh, these women, they dress provocative, they're nasty, they this, they that. Okay, so why do you keep dating the same kind of woman? You're attracting the same kind of woman because you're on a lower vibration.
And then at some point, that man meets a woman who he's supposed to stop the cycle.
Yes.
See, he's serving his purpose as a villain. But then at some point, he's supposed to stop the cycle. If he doesn't stop the cycle, then he continues to develop karma.
Yeah, he starts developing karma. Yep.
Yeah. So the villains play a role. The villains are very essential to our learning experience.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I will say is this. One thing I will say is this, Erica, excuse me, is that, there are some people that come here to have a good time too. Don't get it twisted.
Mm-hmm.
So some people reincarnate that come here to have a good time. So there are some men that came here to just have sex with a lot of women because they came here to have a good time.
Yeah.
Because life truly is an experience no matter how you make it. Yeah. And you have to take into account for that. But that does not mean that individual will not develop karma at some point.
That's interesting. Yep. It almost sounds like it, as far as relationships and these dynamics, it depends on what your plan was when you came here. That's really what it depends on. Talk about like how your life review sort of showed you how you should be living life.
Well, basically, I was whisked into a life review, like whisked. And you see these interactions with people. Let's just make up something. I was mean to a little friend or something.
Yeah.
Or said something really hurtful to another kid. Not a big crime, not a big deal. No one would think a whole lot of it, but it is a big deal there. And you feel the results of your actions in the eyes and the soul of the person that you did it to. So you don't get away with anything. Let me put it that way. The biggest lesson I learned is like, don't do any harm, I'm not this enlightened person at all, but I just know that do the minimal damage, through life to other people that you can. You got to stick up for yourself, but you don't victimize or hurt other people. There's a very good reason, because how you treat others, let's say you show somebody kindness, you're fair, you're clear, you're kind. That is what really holds the most value. Generosity and kindness. Like to help somebody. Or you can put it another way, don't be mean to anybody, because when you die, you're going to feel exactly the results of your actions through the other person.
I'm a divine co-creator of my experience. I'm in co-creation with the divine, with God, with the universe, with all that is. And I had planned all these things that I had felt victimized my whole life by. And so I'm crying out in gratitude. I'm on my figurative knees because there's no body there, but I'm like literally so grateful for this information. And I tell them, thank you guys so much. This is so incredible. I feel so free now. I'm still not going to go back to Earth because that place is
it's basically a dumpster fire, and like I'll just watch the apocalypse from up here. Like I don't need. What do you guys have? Like TV? What's your streaming service? Can I borrow somebody's password? Like I'm just gonna grab some popcorn and watch it from up here. And they were like, "No, miss, you will be going back." And I just I felt like I was being punished. You know, I was like, "What? Why would you show me this? Why would you bring me here? And then you're gonna make me go back to like what?" And then I could see my body outside of myself. And, you know, I crumpled up on my bathroom floor, naked, covered in vomit. I'm like, you actually want to squeeze my divine soul back into that hot mess? Like, that's not going to happen.
Oh, man.
And they said, okay, if you don't go back into her, we'll show you the baby that you'll be born into, because you are going back. And it's not as a punishment. It's just because you signed up for something and you have to complete it. And so then my awareness shifts to another scene again, just like a video game, like the start screen of a video game. When you pick your character, I see a little baby. She's slowly rotating 360 degrees. Her stats all pop up next to her. Her personality, her charisma level, her strengths, her weaknesses, her adversity, where she was going to be born, who her parents would be. And then I kind of watched my life experience cart go into the frame. So like I had this awareness like, oh, she's going to live my life. All that crap that I just picked in the grocery store that no one could eat that much cereal, she now has to eat all that cereal. So I was going to have to do it all over again. And so then my awareness was like, okay, if these are actually my only choices, going back into that broken, glitched body that I can't stand, or starting over from zero, like you're not really giving me much of a choice. I'm not going to start from zero. That's crazy. And the beings of light were really comforting after this. And they said, listen, this is not a punishment. We love you. And you've been training for lifetimes for this. And we're not going to let you miss your opportunity. This is the most exciting time to be on Earth.
So what is so special about specifically the earth realm that I guess has everyone in a tizzy, or everyone like watching?
Yeah, so because this is the only place that you can come and be like in complete forgetfulness, right? And experience like death, experience sickness, experience pain, and in forgetfulness, right? And that adds so much to your soul, because imagine being just this almighty God, this almighty being all the time, and you never experience what it's like to not be that. And then you come to earth and you're in forgetfulness and you're like, damn, I actually got to walk. I actually got to eat. I actually, do all of these things. And then once you remember again, or I say remember, but really it's like when you die, or if you leave your body, whenever you leave this life and you go back to your soul, it's like, wow. And then you remember you're a God again. And it's the greatest feeling ever. That alone, that feeling alone, when you step back to remembrance after coming to here, like that alone is worth these 100 horrible years that you spend here on earth, or or whatever. But
wow.
Yeah, so there's that aspect. And I always use this analogy, to really appreciate a sunny day, you have to experience a rainy day, right? So to truly appreciate your divinity and your God aspect of yourself, you first have to experience what it's like to not be a God, right? So it adds so much more appreciation and understanding to your true nature and how you are, right? Because you have no limitations. The soul has no limitations. So we come here to experience limitations.
We are the divine, precious masterwork. We are. And all the proving and the testing and all that, it happened before we got here. This is the party. This is us getting our reward. It doesn't feel like it sometimes, most of the time, but this is our reward, is to come here to learn how to live outside mom and dad's house. To learn to make choices. Yes. And what I love about the prodigal son is, we could be any of the three people in the prodigal son. We could be the bad son, making all sorts of mistakes. But the bad son still had the self-grace to go seek out his father, even to be a servant unto him, even to sit and eat with his father's dogs. He felt it would be better than how he was living. So that took some self-grace and no pride, because pride wouldn't let him do that. But then pride on the good son. The good son's looking at his dad like, what the hell, Dad? I made all the right decisions, and you're rewarding my brother who squandered his inheritance and gambled it away and made so many mistakes. Or we could be the father who looks to the good son and says, all I see is where I thought I had lost a son, I have now found him. And in this I will rejoice. So kill the fatted calf, put a silver ring on his hand, let me take off my beautiful jacket and give it to my son. That is how much our Creator loves us. If we're the good son, of course our Creator loves us. If we're the bad son, of course our Creator loves us.
If you, on the other side, you're Superwoman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
You have no limit to creation. That means anything you can think of, you can create anything.
Right.
And you have love around you, unconditional love you can't even imagine on the earth, by God and by you. And imagine that you've been living like that for billions and billions and billions of years.
It's boring.
And you might say, exactly, you might say, well, I wonder what it would feel like not to have love or not to be powerful. Oh yeah, the earth game. I could play that game and it's temporary. And I come on earth and you have amnesia because you don't know that you won't know you're a god and you don't know who you are. And then I could experience lack of love and even feel powerless. Yeah, and it's temporary. It's not forever. It's temporary. Yeah, and that's what we do. And 50%, and all this information now I'm telling you is all downloads. 50% of your life is already planned. Your
Yeah.
mother, your father, that's already been planned before you came here, who they would be. Your kids, if you have any, that's planned. Your boyfriend, that's planned. Your husband, that's planned. The guy that breaks your heart, that's planned. Your best friend, that's planned. Your dog, your cat, it's all planned.
Right.
Where you're going to be born, that's planned. What time you're going to be born, that's planned. All that is planned. Okay, so 50% is planned, and the other 50% is free will. But you do have free will if you don't want to go along with your soul's plan. That means you
Yeah.
can change your mind about your parents. You don't have to be with them anymore. You can quit that husband or boyfriend. You don't have to talk with those kids. You don't have to have that dog or cat. You can quit that best friend. You see? So you always have free will.
You
So
have
the
to.
bad guy angels, like, what is their purpose? Like, are they just trying to like thwart humanity?
Yes. Well, first of all, you got to know we live on a world of dichotomy between good and evil.
Yeah.
And humans, our job working for God is to master this reality, endure, persevere, and overcome it. Well, one caveat here is that evil has free reign to do whatever they want to human beings because they know there's no karmic backlash for them. Doesn't matter. This is all they got. They don't get any more. They want to rule everything. They want to destroy humanity and they want to mess everything up because they're like vampires. They live off of our fear, our worry, our doubt, our overwhelm, and lack of forgiveness. They love it when they can push humans' buttons and cause war and kill people. I mean, they don't kill people directly. They have other people kill people directly. And you also have to know that we're not only in a planet of good and evil, it's a schooling planet where only the best and brightest, most courageous children of God get to come here. But we also have alien beings that come to visit this world, some good and some bad, who come to interfere with us and cause problems because they too live off of our fear. They love it when they can push our buttons and make people hate one another. And I have to tell you, from the God perspective, you're never to hate anybody for any reason. You want to be reincarnated and come back as the thing you hate? Then just keep hating people. Your objective is actually to love everybody. That's what Jesus' job was to do. To love.
But everything was created by God. Like even the aliens, the
Them
good,
too.
bad angels, like it's all created by source. They all come from the same source.
That's correct. Everything comes from the source, and this is the largest learning university level that you can go to for your soul.
Okay, so you're a star seed. Okay. So I'm a light worker. And they say like the difference between the two, and correct me if I'm wrong, they said star seeds are actually from like another planet, whereas light workers come from sort of like, I guess, what was known as heaven, or like I don't know what we would call heaven in like the astral term, but I know like heaven is like it's like another dimension. So do you know anything about that? Like, am I on the right path with that thinking?
I would say they're all like the same thing. There's just a different title, meaning your different what you're focused on. So like a star seed, or like Harvard likes to call them crypto-terrestrials, are just ETs that are born within a human body. And so then they got to go through the process of re-remembering and getting in mission. Just like Jesus, he had to re-remember and then remember his mission and then get in it. Same thing. So there's millions and millions of star seeds across the planet. And then light workers, I see why there's a separation, because light workers are people that are focused hugely on bringing higher awareness and higher consciousness to the collective. So, which is what many starseeds, just like you, do as well. So, light worker, starseed, you can go by anything, but some people would say, "Oh, I'm just a light worker," because they are human-based souls, or like a soul that has been on Earth for a very long time, and would say, like, "I'm an Earthling," and they're like, "I'm an Earthling, but I'm here to work for the light, so I'm a light worker." But yeah, I basically consider them the same thing.
Gotcha. So it almost sounds like it's like I got my citizenship in Earth, and like so it's like now I consider myself like an Earthling, and so now I'm a light worker. That's what it kind of sounds like to me. That's interesting. So can you just explain, what star seeds are and how people will even know if they are one?
Yeah. The main point really with the starseed, I would say, if you're sitting listening to this, is that have you felt different? Do you feel that you really just don't get it? Like, what's going on with this planet? It's weird. It's that sort of energy. It's like you feel like you're not fitting in, that, that there's all this sort of, everybody wants to sort of be normal or comfortable within, this is how you should be. So you've always maybe bucked the system by going like, I don't get that. I don't really, that doesn't resonate. It doesn't. I remember at school, if we look at it sort of really simply, there were, as a teenager, there would be many of my classmates that would be putting posters up of their favorite pop stars in the bedroom, and I'd be like, why would you want to idolize somebody? If you like their music, but don't just sort of like give your power away to anybody. I always had that sort of energy about me. So if you feel that you're not fitting in, if you're hypersensitive, you might have that empathic response, meaning that you can start to tap into your extrasensory gifts. You might see things, have visions. All of these things sort of create this difference about you, that you are seeded from another star system, and you've ascended as a fractal of that light into a body of a human being. So we came here.
So like incarnation. Like
yeah, but it's not within the Earth reincarnation. You're coming from, say, the Pleiades incarnation.
Okay, that's what I want to talk to you about. So you said that it's from like your star self, right?
Yeah.
So everybody isn't necessarily like, so everybody doesn't necessarily have a star self, right?
I see things, honestly, how I see things is this, right? Is that we are everything.
Okay.
If we're looking at the perspective of all that is oneness. So if somebody says, well, identifying with a starseed, am I a starseed? Yes, you are, because you are all things.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. If you
Okay.
see yourself as a planet, an element of a planet, a fractal of a piece of that consciousness, you are also that, because you are everything.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
you're
I
both
get that.
light and dark, but where are you going to play? Where are you going to identify with? So I identify with the planetary system of consciousness of the Palladian aspect of myself. I've embodied that consciousness within me, so I can access the information that I hold as a Palladian fractal. You see?
Okay.
So we, if you're listening to this video, listening to your channel, you will be on mission, because a normal unawakened soul would not come across this and get to this point in the video 20 minutes
Right.
in. There'll be an intrigue within, with like questioning within you, what is this girl talking about? Being open to receive, to have this conversation in the first place. So you're not going to be sort of like, well, this is a load of rubbish, but continue to listen.
Yeah.
There is something within you that is calling you to that point to remember, who are you? Why are you here? Type energy.
So you kind of spoke on this earlier in the conversation, but what exactly is a chosen one?
So for me, I feel like I'm the chosen one in my family because there's nobody like me at all. I am the one that's breaking these generational cycles, generational curses. And I always felt like in my family, I was just so weird because my thought process was different. When I came, when I would talk to my grandfather about religion, I questioned the Bible. I questioned religion. And I was a young girl. I was like,
I
if
did too.
Cain killed Abel, then how this world started? And I said, well, what?
Yeah.
I mean, if they were, that doesn't make any sense to me. And my grandfather, he liked it. I pushed back with that. But for me, I just feel the chosen one is the one that's in the family. It's normally the black sheep. It's the one that, they don't go with the norm. They like, this is something, they're just different. And like, when I said with Diddy, I felt intuitively, I just think he was supposed to change the trajectory of his family. And he did. He just picked the wrong side.
He picked
And so that's what I mean by chosen. We are here to really break those chains spiritually.
I am not a starseed. Starseeds come from other worlds. They have lived lives on other worlds. They come here now to master this reality and to help humanity raise up. They've already mastered their reality on a different world. I am a light worker that comes from heaven, goes back to heaven. Heaven is my home. Earth is not my home, and neither is any other planet. And we're here to help the beings, the 70% of this world, raise up their consciousness and awareness to the fourth and fifth dimension. So we're here. We volunteered. Whether you're a starseed child or a light worker, you come here voluntarily, knowing you're not here for ego or greed. You can live a good life, but you're not here to make a fortune. You are here to help other people realize that even though they were born on this world and they come back to this world, they too can master this reality, and they just need help. And I'm here to help those folks. Actually, we're all here. You're a starseed child. You came to this life. You knew you were different, but you also know that you came from another world. I came from heaven. I know that heaven's my home.
So is heaven so is, I guess I'm trying to understand the difference between heaven and the other world.
Each of us has different sets of lives to live for different purposes. And you have a series of lives, hundreds of them, thousands of them. And on this world, the tougher the life, the tougher the reality, the more times you'll come back and reincarnate. The fewer times you will reincarnate is because you're usually not a starseed, but you are a light worker. You come in back and forth. You're not an angel. but you act sometimes like angels. You have divine gifts, divine insight, and you're connected to the angels because you're divinely connected to them and through them. Whereas the starseed is aware that life is much simpler on other worlds. You can live much longer lives. They are like the masters that come to this world to teach us that you can master this reality. And in our own ways, starseeds and light workers work together from different perspectives, all with the same goal in mind, to raise up the energy to help humans who are constantly born and reincarnated here, live, die, and reborn here, to grow up and become part of the galactic federation of planets, so to speak, so that we can help other worlds and become part of that reality. We're in the toughest neighborhood. I mean, we are in the ghetto of planets. It's in the worst neighborhood, in the worst part of the universe. And the reason is done on purpose. We are here to endure, persevere, overcome, and master this reality. Evil's job, to destroy us. Our job, not to get destroyed. And as soon as you can raise your frequency to the fourth and fifth dimension, or just even to the fourth dimension, evil got to get away from you, because they're going to run, because you know the truth.
There's several realms. There's the galactic realm where the ETs come from, and the humans beyond the ice wall, they're considered ETs too, I guess, because they're like extraterrestrials. They're from extra land, but there's other ETs that they come from the galactic realm, and then you got like realm 3, which is like the ancient Egyptian time period, or Atlantis, where like the Anunnaki would be from. So like if you're out of your body and you go to the pyramids, you're basically in realm 3. We were bigger
and the
at
galactic
that
realm
time.
is space, right? Is that the galactic realm is what we
Mm-mm.
consider space? No.
That would be what we consider space, but it's not really space. They're just like interdimensional beings that traverse the realms. So like
Wow.
they're like we were talking earlier, all realms inhibit the same space, right? So the galactic realm
Yeah.
is still here. It's just out of our frequency. Yeah. But
Okay. Okay.
yeah, that's where a lot of the ET beings come from, and things like that. And then the realms, they go all the way up to, you got the heavenly realm, which it's actually like historically accurate. Like Sylvia Brown, I remember she would say like in heaven, you're age 30, and you can do pretty much anything. And like, that's very accurate. That's exactly what it's like. And then, the realms, they go up and up. And as you go up in the realms, the inhabitants of that realm, they have more abilities. You get closer and closer back to your soul essence.
There's physical reality, a little space. We're in physical reality right now. There are different dimensions that go out and out and out and out, and each is thinner and more thought responsive. Okay, but it takes place in the same area, like where physical reality is. Think of that there's layers or dimensions or rings that just go out further and further, but in the same space. So we're occupying space. You and I are occupying space, but in the same space, there's other dimensions. That is something I had a hard time wrapping my brain around.
Is it kind of like how, on Earth, it's like different atmospheres. So it's like we in the sky, but then all of a sudden it's like the like above, like the firmament, and then you're in space, and like is it kind of like that, where it's like different textures?
That's a very smart analysis.
Now we're going to explain timelines. First thing, timelines are nothing but options that exist in the universe. My mother could see the timeline of my life. My mother could see the timeline of my life, and she also saw her life. Like I told you, 50% of it is already planned. Now, timelines exist that, Erica, you went to the store instead of having this interview with me. Now that's in the universe somewhere. Okay, another example of timeline. Erica, have you ever put your keys on a table and went away for a couple hours and came back and those keys weren't there?
Right. Yeah, I've experienced something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have to be keys, it could be any object.
Yeah.
And then you go around looking for this object all around your place, you can't find it, and you come back 2 hours later and look on that table again, and there it is again.
Right. Right.
That's a timeline shift. You've just experienced a timeline shift. Now, here's the thing in my downloads. We change timelines every 3 minutes, so it's not a big deal. Okay? We change it, we're just not conscious of it. And sometimes we are, like with the object disappearing and reappearing. Okay? But that's what timelines are. They're options. Now, the Earth is going to change to two timelines. It's going to split to two timelines. One timeline is going to be 3D,
Okay.
and the other timeline is going to be 5D. Now, look at it like this, Erica. If you stand in front of a wall, you're going to have your shadow and you're going to have you, right?
Yeah.
Now, the 3D timeline is going to be a copy, the shadow, a copy of the Earth. It's not going to be the real Earth. It's going to be like the shadow. It'll be a copy. And the 5D timeline is going to be the real Earth.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. That makes sense. Okay.
Okay. So, and this is going to happen, it's going to happen very gradually. It's not going to be like, you wake up one morning and then um, a million people have disappeared.
Right.
Okay.
Right. I hear a lot of like mediums and even people that go through NDEs, like everybody is saying that this time on earth is the best time. It's the best time to be able to do things like you're doing. It's the best time to sort of download this information. Everybody said it's a shift. So is it like, are you able to do that because of this time on earth? Are you able to?
I think that's one of the gifts I got when came back and working with people. I've been helping people die for many decades, but I never had that kind of experience. But also, they weren't my mother.
Right.
But I want to say, I don't think that's because of the shift. I think I had the ability before the shift began, but the reality is that there is a shift. A major
Yeah.
shift. We're in the age of Aquarius. We're no longer in we're being affected by woman energy from other planets and the moon and everything. It's all this female energy. And then there's a huge reaction to this energy at the same time. And it's part of it. It's like, they're like, I'm not into politics, but I'm pretty clear what's going on right now. And it's not fun and it's not pretty and it's kind of insensitive and rude and very dangerous for many people. And but I am not at the place anymore that that's my job. And when I was younger, it was my job. I was out there. Did it all. But now my job is to work with people so they stay in their soul's journey, achieving everything they came here to, and not get distracted by all this minutia that's going on with the collective consciousness that's based in fear. This is not a time to dip into fear. This is a time to firm up yourself and your soul and figure out what's in front of you and why you're here at this time in history. This time, everything, there's always been something substantial in every time in history. That's how we've grown. But as a planet, as the Earth and all its residents, we have grown to a new level. I mean, just people may say whatever they're going to say about COVID, but never in the history of this planet before has everybody been put on a timeout at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not significant.
Yeah. It was a collective timeout.
The entire planet. So I'm like, out of my hands, but I believe that there was a purpose for this because there was a reset going on to allow for the shift to occur. Now it continues that way. It's not because there are fires or people are doing what they're doing, or that that Trump got elected to the presidency. It's not about that. Trump, for me, is he is allowing people to experience the dark side of the soul.
Right. Yeah.
And there's a collective of people who can see it from a place of non-fear. And then there are people who see it as permission to act in their worst form. And that's not what this is about. This is not about working. But those people, they have to do what they have to do. I don't know what their soul journey is.
Yeah, I was about to say maybe that's part of their soul lesson or journey. You never know.
We don't know.
Anytime people ask me about catastrophic events in the future, they always say, like, well, since you know these things and you see these things, why don't you do anything to prevent them? And one of the biggest comments I say is that because it unites us.
Yeah.
Catastrophic events, not that riots in LA are catastrophic, but events like that and even more intensity do unify humans.
Yeah.
And so they all have a place. But also, what if I was to say that catastrophic events are coming? And what if part of people being deported back to their mainlands to be with the roots of their families would be very, very important? And that maybe this isn't a dark or evil thing or an inconvenience or anything, because the light has its hand in everything equally.
Yeah, all things work together.
They do. Okay.
Yeah.
So it would be, if you've noticed, people have been migrating all around the world from a fire in Oregon or a fire in California and having to move here or moving back home where they originally came from, where their family is, their parents, their grandparents, their uncles, all of the stuff. And that's been happening all around the world. And so if there's more force in this, it forces us to get back to where we came from and fix it where we were versus fleeing to somewhere else and making a shitstorm there. So there's beauty in all things. And I think that too often we're always looking to blame the one, right? And that's just not true. But I also want to mention this behind the scenes. Okay. And here's the honest to God truth. Black Lives Matter riots, the Ferguson riots, the LA riots currently, 90% of those people are being paid. The Capitol, run in, all that, it's all BS, guys.
It's a show.
And you know what? It's just something, the bigger issue in our world right now is the matter of discernment. His definition of the apocalypse is very important. So, the apocalypse could be different levels of events, right?
Yeah.
But when you're asking about the end of the world kind of stuff, no, you're fine. The world is never going to end, but there will be major, major changes. And it comes in seasons, it comes in waves.
So is Earth, at least the side that we're on, are we going to experience another reset, or are we going to be able to continue like the people are allowed beyond the ice wall?
Yeah, I don't see another reset coming. It's all right. So what I've came to understand so far, I've never publicly said this, but what I've came to understand so far is that the beings that created this universe, you can say, they all wanted prosperity and goodness, right? However, like we said, the other realms, the other beings, they can control certain shit too, and they can reset humanity and things like that. But all of that is finished. Like, they're not doing that anymore. And a lot of the beings that are resetting are like and in control of like the ETs and what people can consider like the Anunnaki played a role in it and things like that for sure. But yeah, but the makers of this universe, like it's it's done for all that resetting and things like that, for sure.
I did have like a very spiritual dream about a month ago, basically, that as humanity, we're basically crossing over a crosswalk. The dream was like very symbolic. I was looking at a crosswalk, and this is where all of humanity is going across the street. So like we've left, in this dream, it was showing me like we've left the curb, and at the end of the crosswalk was this beautiful crystal palace filled with golden, or it was actually filled with rainbow light. And each blank space of the crosswalk was showing me a world event. And I was able to look inside the crosswalk, and it became like a 3D holographic image where I could see what was going to happen. The first blank space was like economic changes, and I saw the stock market dropping, and then I saw it dropping again. And then in the white painted space after that, I was shown like how humanity could deal with these different challenges. And like it was showing me that like there was different options we could do, but the best one would be for us to all come together. And I was able to see like humans coming together across the entire globe and like working together and helping each other. And it was really beautiful. And it was like, I got the impression in the dream, like the majority of us would do this, would come together and help each other. And then we could go to the next step. There was 2 more spaces, like blank spaces, followed by the white painted space. And they were two more big world events that I do not remember. I remember being in the dream, like, I'll remember these. I looked so intently, like I went into these different things and I was like, I'll remember them. They seem intense. And I don't remember them at all, but I think maybe I wasn't supposed to, because it's kind of like, I think it brings up a lot of fear to talk about these. And that's not the point. Was in the space that was painted, we could all come together and like, it seemed like we would, and do a great job. And like at the end, as we went through these different events, there was like this huge palace with that light, and like I entered into the palace in the dream and like was filled with this beautiful rainbow light. I felt so peaceful and joyful. And then at the end of the dream, I walked back out to the crosswalk to help them cross. And no, I was not on psychedelics. This was I'm just like, anyone watching is like, she's crazy. I don't know. But I have heard, people who have had near-death experiences talk about this big solar flash moment. They talk about like this light coming down to earth for like several days where we suddenly all become like massively psychic, and that's the ascension point. And I don't know, there's lots of different theories on that, but that to me was like the closest evidence or spiritual knowledge I had about our changes as humanity. But at the end of all these changes, as we come together more and more, there is like a beautiful outcome where we are just living in the light, it seemed like. So that was
light beings.